What's up YouTube, Capital G here. Got a bit of a moral debate in this video and asking for some opinions on it. Want to know what you guys think, and it's something that I started doing in the last year, and I don't know honestly why I didn't do this the entire time that I played Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'll get to that in a quick second. And I think that this is going to be a little bit of a divisive topic. I think that there will be some people that say, Cap, you're playing within the rules of the game, you're perfectly fine, it's all fair. And then I think some people will say, you know, Cap, you're a cheating scumbag, your decks are bad, and you should feel bad. And let me explain what I'm actually doing. And I guess I should also say that I only do this in real life. If I'm playing at like a regional or a YCS, then I'll do this. If I'm playing online like Dev Pro, YGO Pro, I don't really give a fuck, because those duels honestly in the grand scheme of things don't really matter to me. So anyways, so what I've actually been doing, or I guess what I've stopped doing, is when I activate a card effect and it's something that my opponent is familiar with, like let's say I'm playing Dark Magician and you know there's somebody I'm playing against only knows Zodiacs and Metaphors and you know, decks like Paleozoic, they really only know like the meta decks, and they say, oh, what's that do? I will no longer explain what the card actually does. What I do is I hand them the card, or I'll say, oh, you can go ahead and read it. Like I will no longer actually say, oh, well, this is basically this is what it does. And some people might see that as kind of being a jerk or kind of being a douche, and it's nothing personal. The reason that I do it is because I'm trying to conceal as much information from my opponent as possible, and for starters, that is within the rules. Now, let me explain why I do that. Is the reason that I do that is because I feel like a lot of cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of times you can explain effects by, you know, naming another similar card, and a lot of times if you actually explain the effect, you sometimes can give away how important resolving that effect is for your actual deck or your actual play or your actual turn. And I feel like, why should I give my opponent any information? Like, let me give you an example, right? Magician's Rod. This is a card where if you had no idea what Dark Magicians really were, what they do, and I summoned it and you say, hey, what does that do? And I say, here, go ahead and read it. And you just kind of look and it says, you know, I search a Dark Magician spell or trap. You're probably thinking, oh, come on, this is Dark Magician. What the fuck? No one plays this trash deck. I'm not going to Solemn Strike that. I'll Solemn Strike something more important. And then, you know, I end up getting set up. I get my circle. Maybe I get like a navigation or something, and I'm able to go off and do my plays, as opposed to if I summon it and you say, hey, what's that do? And I say, oh, it's a Stratos. Like, you immediately can put Stratos into context because everyone knows what Stratos is. Everyone knows that Stratos means it's a searcher of your deck. It generally is a card you want to see probably resolved on turn one, and it's a card that gets every deck rolling. If I say it's a Stratos, you automatically know, wow, this is some important shit. If I stop this, he probably isn't going to be able to get to whatever combo that he's doing. I might not even know what this combo is, but the second that you call a card a Stratos, you know it's an important play to that deck. And you know, maybe I say it's a Stratos and you Solemn Strike it, and then the rest of my hand is fucking garbage. And I feel like it's not my job to put into perspective or to give you any information that might let you know how important this card is. You know, I used to say often on my stream that reading a card and comprehending a card are two completely different things. I still don't understand why people don't know that. Like, I can give you a handful of Despot cards and just say read them. And you read them and okay, you might know what they do, but do you really understand how they work? Do you really understand how I'm going to use them? Do you really understand, you know, how they're going to be useful in any given situation? No, you don't, because you've never actually played Despots, or you still really don't understand Despots in the context of a duel. Like, you don't really fully understand the power of them and how I'm going to use them. All you know is what they do. And I feel like it can kind of be tactical. You guys know, you guys let me know if this is scumbaggy, right? Let's say I'm playing a deck. These are the two examples I will always use, right? Guardians and Despots, because I feel like, generally speaking, 95 to 98% of Yu-Gi-Oh players have no idea what the fuck these archetypes do. If I'm playing Guardians and I'm doing my combos and whatnot, and you're just like, what does this do? And I just keep handing you a card, you're probably going to be bombarded with information. You're gonna be like, wait, what the hell does this do? What is he resolving? Where do I Solemn Strike? Where do I Torrential? You know what I mean? You might have those cards, and because I'm basically forcing you to take in all this information of what my cards actually do, you're probably going to be much more prone to making a misplay, to Solemn Striking at the wrong time, as opposed to if I say, oh yeah, this guy's Pot of Greed, this guy is Graceful Charity, this guy is my Stratos, this guy is my Kaiju Interrupted Slumber, and it's like I kind of just give away the importance of those cards by putting them into context. Like, I can give you guys a very common example right now. I think a lot of people kind of know about this one, but Lost Win is a card that's seeing a whole bunch of play right now. And Lost Win's effect is permanent, right? So you can use it during the damage step. And you see this happen with the Paleo versus Zodiac match a lot. In fact, you saw it at the finals of YCS Atlanta, where that's when I actually learned that Lost Winds is actually permanent. So a player might attack with a Zodiac XC. You activate Lost Winds in the damage step. Maybe they attack your Dupe Frog, take 2,000 damage because the Zodiac XC has 0 attack. Like, if they go into battle phase during their next turn, is it your job to try and jump in and say, wait a minute, it's permanent, dude. Your Zodiac is still 0 attack. Like, is it your job to tell them that? Like, shouldn't you let them walk into? Because I had that happen multiple times when I was playing barrier statues at my last regionals. I would activate Phantom Knight's Wing, and people wouldn't realize that the 500 attack gain is permanent, and then they would try and attack my statue, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell you that the attack is permanent until you fuck up. Like, I feel like, you know, using every single small advantage like that, it's perfectly within the bounds, and I feel like it's in bounds. I feel like it's within the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't even think that it's being sneaky, because I don't feel like, you know, you're walking this rope, or you're walking this tightrope of, is this cheating? Is this soft cheating? Is it not? I'll give you guys another example, right? Let's say your opponent is playing Zodiacs, or they're playing Infernoids, and they open up with the Terratop plus like Void Feast, or they open up with, you know, Rat plus Terratop, and you just know they're going to wombo combo. You don't have Maxi. You don't have any ways of breaking their board. Is when you just, like, some people might look at their hand, say, okay, I'm not going to crack this. I'm just going to scoop. I'm not going to give them any information on what deck I'm playing, so they can't side against me. I know what they're playing, but, you know, they obviously don't know what I'm playing. Like, I feel like, is that inbounds? I feel like it's kind of the same exact thing. You know what I mean? That's a metaphor, or I guess a situation that's almost identical, where you're basically trying to keep information from your opponent to take advantage in the next duel. And I feel like this is the same exact situation. I've always thought that it's really not my job to explain my cards, or to explain the importance of the plays in my deck, or to make you understand how my deck works. My job is simply to beat you within the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! So you guys let me know. Do you guys think what I'm doing is scumbag, where if I'm playing like a really obscure rogue deck like Buster Blader or Cardians, and you have no idea what the fuck my cards do, and you say, you know, what does that do? And I just say, oh, here you go, you can read the card, or I just hand you the card. Like, do you guys think that that is poor sportsmanship? Am I being a scumbag? Because I actually promise you guys this, like, if you constantly explain what your cards do, especially if you explain them using similar cards, a lot of times it will help your opponent comprehend what you're trying to do without them really knowing. If you make them read that card, they will still have no idea what the fuck you're actually doing, because you just can't comprehend that fast. Like, you really can't comprehend what a Cardian player is going to do just by reading the cards, because you aren't familiar with it. Like, it's going to take a few duels of you seeing what Cardians actually do for you to understand their play. So anyways, whatever you guys think, please leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Oh, and I'd also like to point out, I would not employ this tactic against like a really small child. If I was dueling somebody who was like 10 or maybe 13, I guess under the age of like 14, I wouldn't use this tactic. But I mean, I really haven't dueled anybody at a regional that young since Konami made Dragon Duels a thing. But if it happened that I was at a YCS and I dueled against like a 10-year-old, no, I wouldn't use this tactic. But if you're an adult, if you're like a teenager, you're a completely fair game in my book.